Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us on the penultimate day of Local Enterprise Week 2021. My name is Grace Corbell. I'm a business advisor with the Local Enterprise office here in Donegal. The idea for Local Enterprise Week is really about coming together to promote and celebrate entrepreneurship. The idea was conceived in Donegal in 2007 and was subsequently adopted by all 31 local enterprise offices to become a national event packed with opportunities for learning, sharing best practice and networking. Unfortunately, our networking will all be happening virtually this year. The year ahead will be an interesting one for Ireland's entrepreneurs. The evidence is that despite the challenges caused by the pandemic, Ireland's appetite for startups shows no sign of abating. On average, we have over 20,000 startup businesses registered in Ireland each year. These businesses contribute massively to the Irish economy, stimulating economic growth and providing employment opportunities in communities all over the country. Despite the chaos caused by COVID-19, Ireland's startups keep on innovating, and as confirmed by our panel of entrepreneurs tonight, the potency and quality of Irish startups is world class. They are proving what starts out as a small idea can eventually lead to a global business. On behalf of the Local Enterprise Office, I would like to thank Conall Cathal Sheridan and Diarmuid McSweeney for giving up their time to join us this evening. Diarmuid from Gym and Coffee has kindly stepped in as Niall couldn't be with us for the best reason, as his wife has just had a new baby. So a big congratulations to Niall and his family. I will now hand you over to our host, another trailblazer in his own right, Conall O'Moran. Colin was the first business broadcaster on RTE and hosted the Sunday Business Show on Today FM for over a decade. He now hosts the Great Business Show podcast. I'm sure we're in for an interesting session. So I hope you enjoy and most importantly, take something from tonight. Whether that be a bit of confidence to take the plunge with the startup idea you have, or if you're already in business, maybe a bit of advice or learning that you can apply to your own situation. Thank you again for logging in.
Thank you, Grace. I saw what you did there. You just claimed Leo Week for yourselves in Donegal. I want to hear what the other Leos will think of that. And listen, a very, very big Gurvina Mahagav to Donegal, Leo, for inviting me back again. And I have been there obviously before. And wherever we are, or I'm here or there, we will be joined by people who are in various places because of this damned COVID. But anyway, some people love Cheltenham Week, some people love All Ireland Week. I love Local Enterprise Week. And I say that because I really mean it. I just love the kinds of people that I interact with. As Grace was saying there, I did the Sunday Business Show on Today FM, I think, for 13 years, and we had 6 odd companies per program. And over the years, I think I did 4,000 companies, met with 4,000 SMEs. And since I set up the podcast, thatgreatbusinessshow.com, we've already got 100 companies through the door. And again, I just love being in their companies. And that's what we'll do more of this evening, because we have 3 great entrepreneurs. And thinking of an entrepreneur, I spoke before in Donegal at a Leo event where I chatted about a thing called a misfit. And I call them misfits because it's a great name for entrepreneurs. You have to be a misfit to want to be an entrepreneur. People who give up regular, good, solid, sensible, pensionable jobs because they get the itch. And what's the itch? The itch is to see whether they could do it themselves, whether their great idea, be it a shop, be it a brand, be it some massive tech idea, will it work? And then I was talking to a woman called Jo Brown of Jo Brown Skincare, and she's based in Hackettstown in County Carlow. She was on the podcast with me, and I asked her what makes her keep going. She has only 3 people. She's in 9 countries around the world. Great business. And what keeps her going is, and she said this on the podcast, just wants to see where it goes, where it brings her. Great idea. Now, today's event may be a little bit more clunky than usual because of COVID, but we'll get over that because, well, we are in the company of entrepreneurs. I've been given a very, very healthy 45 minutes to have this chat. And one of the things that I want particularly the audience, if I can call you an audience, the viewers, to do is to send in questions. You make my life much, much easier by sending me the questions. I don't have to do anything except read them out after that. So let us start. And if we can pop the entrepreneurs up on screen, I'll introduce you. Joining me will be Conall Laverty, great name, Conall, one-time pianist in Broadway. We'll get on to that, Conall. And now a founder and CEO of WIA, spelled W-I-A, that provides the tools needed to help you better understand and manage the occupancy. He calls it in your space. We call it in your building, I think.
Yeah.
Al Sheridan of Huku Balances in Creoslach, and his business took off thanks to Ryan Tuberty. Again, we can chat to him about that. And Diarmuid McSweeney of Gym Plus Coffee. I've known Diarmuid since he was 4 months old, not physically, but he just reminded me that he was on the Sunday Business Show with me when their Gym Plus Coffee brand was only 4 months old. They're now 4 months and a bit old, and they now have 70 employees, and they are a real recognizable brand. So congratulations to Gym Plus Coffee. And to Fáilte Roibh ar Fad. Let me start, because in the order in which I have you here, Conall, one-time pianist, let's just get that out of the way. How come you are playing the piano, and did it help your business?
Yeah, so it was all really by accident. So I started playing piano at a young age, got into bands, whenever I was in school. Even have a funny story about me and the Guns N' Roses drummer whenever I was 16, but that's for another time. But yeah, me and a couple of friends, we went to New York, did the J1, but with no forms. So we kind of just went there, arrived, and I got an opportunity to start working as a host over just off Broadway. And then they had this amazing piano in the bar. And then they gave me the opportunity to then play every weekend for the musicians there. And really, yeah, one of the learnings really from that for me was really going, okay, well, how do I interact with lots of different people from lots of different nationalities and lots of different places from all around the world, different backgrounds, and learning, I guess, some of the fundamentals of communication actually was one of the best things that I actually took away from that. And it really kind of stemmed then to kind of have my interest in kind of pursuing that even further.
What does your business do, and how old is it?
Yeah, so WIA helps property operators get a really good understanding of what's going on in their building. So really it all starts with people. So if you don't understand what number of people there are, or where they are, or what they're doing, then it's really hard to see how you can make it a safe environment. So that's been a big thing for us over the past 12 months, obviously with COVID. But looking more ahead in the future, then looking at sustainability and all the 2030 targets that the property operators have to meet. So it's kind of crazy what they have to do. They have to reduce their energy threshold by up to 70% in some cases, which is a lot to do between now and the next kind of 8 years or so. So the company's been around for about 4 or 5 years. I'm an engineer myself. It was born from my bike being stolen from 2 floors underground. And I wanted to build a way for all bikes and smartphones to speak to each other. And really then that just evolved into kind of what the company is today. And so we do things across software, hardware, connectivity, anything that's needed to solve a problem.
Bad news, Conall. There's a fella in the house here with me who had his bike stolen. So you haven't solved that one yet.
No, I moved away from that problem. Yeah, so there's still quite a lot of bikes being stolen, and that one we never ever turned up. The police did think that they found it one time. They called me, and they were so excited because they were going, okay, we're going to do a raid, and they organized everything, and they raided a house because they thought it was my bike, and it was not my bike. So they were very, very, very disappointed that their whole big moment was blown because they thought that they had finally solved the mystery.
The business is 4 years old, you say, or thereabouts. How big is it in terms of what we sometimes rudely call headcount? How many people are working with you?
Yeah, so we have a tiny team still. So we've just 7 on the team. We've raised about $1.5 million in funding. And what we do is we actually, unlike a lot of other kind of tech companies who just want to put more heads into doing things, we get obsessed with our processes. So what we're able to do is we're able to do things quicker than a lot of tech companies, and in some instances better. So to give you even an example of that, we were asked to build a people counter, and one of which is actually above my door there, and that was during the pandemic. And so we had to actually learn how to build hardware products from living rooms. So I've got a whole electronics fabrication facility in my living room that allows me to build end-to-end products. Yeah, I actually do. Yeah, somehow I passed the safety inspection, which was incredible. But
you also have a rocket in your bedroom or your sitting room.
Yeah, no, that one came with instructions. So that's my Lego rocket, and part of my Lego collection, ranging from Back to the Future to Star Wars to all this other things space related. So I'm an obsessive engineer. That's really what I love doing, and it just happens to be the technology is my discipline.
7 people at the moment. World ambitions?
Absolutely. Well, the original WA platform was actually in more than 100 countries with over 70,000 engineers using it. And that all came just from organic growth, from everyone kind of having the same problem that I had when I was trying to kind of move into the Internet of Things business. And we're now working on new products and really, really exciting things where we believe we're going to transform the world of smart buildings very, very soon. And because we've noticed a lot of the ways that things are done in this industry are really kind of old and incumbent ways. And we're kind of bringing, I guess, a new, fresh flavor to an industry that has long needed it.
Are you incredibly intelligent and incredibly successful because your name is Conall?
I must be. You're the man. You're the expert on that one. Yeah, the name has definitely helped, and we're in the county of Conall as well. So there's something magical about that name. Absolutely.
Well, we'll come back to you into Waya and further questions to you in a second, because I want to go to Cathal. Cathal is with Huku Balance in Creaslach. Well, first thing I'll ask you to do, Cathal, because I just think they are beautiful. Pick up one of your, can you pick it up there and stick it into the camera so anybody who doesn't know what you do, that is called the balance board, isn't that right?
Yes, so this deck and the roller here are one of our products. So
you've gone full screen, it's looking good.
Wow. So if you can imagine, my hand is the floor and the board sits on top like so, and you'd step on either side and you rock and you roll. Not as good as Conall in his days at AC/DC, but it's fun.
But they are handmade with love.
They are indeed handmade with love. Yeah, we have a team of 4 in production now at the moment in Creaslach. We found a huge jump in growth last year when gyms were closed. You couldn't get out and about as much. So we noticed a big increase in. We had planned to grow last year, but not as much as we had. It was our 3rd year. And we were kind of not much like the guys there, probably well ahead of us. But I decided that I wanted to take it a little bit slower and just kind of more carefully, maybe. So still doing that, but I'm getting a little bit better at gambling. So I think the next couple of years we'll be growing quite significantly.
And you could, if you could, have extra people working with you already.
Yeah, we're our problem at the moment is production. We're not able to make enough to fulfill orders, it's great in one way, but it's also quite stressful. The reason we can't get more people in production is because of the current restrictions in place. So the guys at the moment, they're all working longer days separately to get their hours in. And we're hoping to catch up and just continue making in the next week or so. We should be ahead of ourselves.
I did say to you, you should take this opportunity to recruit if you have the opportunity, because there are people out there, obviously local, who may know of people who might like to work with you. Absolutely.
We're looking for people in production, and we'll be looking for some office staff in the coming weeks and months as well. So if anyone's at a loose end, give us a shout.
No. You don't want loose ends. You want really talented people. Tell me about Ryan Tubridy. Ryan Tubridy was fantastic for you.
He was, yeah. We were doing quite well last year, and we were above where we were expecting, and then we were featured on the Late Late Show. It was the Irish Makers show. It was a couple of weeks before the Toy Show, and from that point on, orders exploded. And it was at that point we doubled our production team, and it's funny. All the guys I got in are actually surfers, So it was tough to get them at some times. They were all often the same thing, but most of the time they were in and they were really fantastic. We had 6 in throughout November and some of December. And yeah, again, I think it's similar to Gym Plus Coffee. We had to close the store down, the online store down in December. No, we put a warning up. We let people know, if you want to order, you'll get it in January, but you're not going to get it for Christmas. And people still wanted it. People were willing to wait. So yeah, it was interesting. And Ryan has a soft spot for Donegal, it seems, and definitely likes what we're doing. So thanks, Ryan.
Everybody has a soft spot for Donegal.
We are
Tell
pretty
me
good, aren't we,
about
Conall?
International. You're selling online internationally.
Exactly. Yeah, we've again this last couple of years, our marketing is mostly based in Ireland and UK, but we were still getting sales throughout the Americas, Australia, and Western Europe. So we took that as a sign, and we started kind of focusing more on that. And our European sales and our American sales have been growing steady this last 6 months, and even in the start of 2021, still going quite well. So I've been asking people, you know, why Huku? Why not another brand? And you know, they do a quick Google search. They can see the quality in our products. They can see the sustainability that we're talking about. They can see the proof in what we're doing. So it's actually fantastic to be talking to our customers overseas and getting their thoughts.
The quality is very gorgeous. They are little works of art. And there's another one, I don't know what you call it, the one with where the child tries to get the marble or the marline into the hole.
The Ulu, yeah, it's been amazing. It's a fantastic little product for kids. So it's not only as a game, but when the kids using it, it helps them activate their core. It helps with their proprioception and their coordination awareness. So it's a great learning tool, but they're having fun while they're doing it. So it's kind of a sneaky one.
And I'll be talking to Dermot in a second about this, but going back to the board, was the surfing community good to you in promoting the board?
Yeah, they've been great. You know, whenever I can, I'll support an event or a competition, you know, be it on the West Coast or the East Coast, or wherever they may be. And, you know, even the surf clubs around the country, I always try and, you know, give them a few products, and they're fantastic. They really talk us up, you know. I don't have to pay them. So
they're great ambassadors
and they're fantastic.
for you.
Yeah.
At what point I'm going to bring Dermot in, because Dermot, you actually taught me on that not on the Great Business Show, on the Sunday Business Show, about this idea of community. Called me old-fashioned, but I didn't get it initially. But you said, no, this works. And boy, does it work. You brought a community with you. You founded the brand around a community. You might even talk to us about where the Gym Plus Coffee name, I know I've asked you this 100 times, but I love the backstory. The Gym Plus Coffee name, where did that come from?
Sure, and thanks for everybody for having me, even though I was a last-minute substitution. But yeah, Gym Plus Coffee is a funny name. We don't have a gym and we don't really sell coffee, so it's off to a good start. But I suppose Gym Plus Coffee is supposed to summarize a lifestyle that we want to encourage, one that is healthy and active, and one that encourages people to socialize around exercise, which I think, you know, even in the last 12 months, but years before that, I think everybody is doing that a lot more than we ever would have before. I think that the community aspect is certainly not revolutionary. I think, you know, community on or offline is vital for everybody's well-being. But I think community in terms of how brands are built is just becoming more and more important, because people are connecting with like-minded people, you know, through social media, through digital channels. So what we wanted to do was to create a community around the brand, because we knew that the odds were very much stacked against us. You know, creating a clothing brand in the sportswear industry, going up against some massive global players. You know, you don't want to you don't want to insult people's intelligence. You can't pretend from day one that we are more innovative than Nike or Adidas. So I think what we wanted to do was probably be the most collaborative brand, bring, you know, customers or people that liked us right into the heart of the brand. So if we open a new store, or if we launch a new product, or we have a new range of beanies with new colors, we will ask people for the feedback, and they can chip into the process of where should the next store open, or what should the next set of leggings be like, what should the next color range be of beanies, so it's very kind of collaborative, and I think everybody's kind of looking for that connection with brands or companies nowadays, because you like kind of chatting to them like normal people, and I couldn't imagine sending a DM on Instagram to Nike and getting a response from someone. Might just be a bot getting back to me. So that personal touch and connection is really important. So that's why we put so much focus on community.
And the term, I think, is authenticity, isn't it? And that it's sticking it to the man, because you mentioned Nike, and I'd say that that is the difference, is that your community believes that you're genuine in what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. Well, it is definitely an authentic approach. It's definitely what we're passionate about. But then also you have to be the opposite of what the big players are, and you have to lean on your strengths. And I've read enough research reports, and I know for a fact that, at a board level in Adidas and Nike and all these companies, they obsess about becoming more local, becoming more in touch with local communities around the world, and being more like, on the street. Well, we don't have to try and develop strategies to do that. We can just do that. So I suppose we better lean on that strength as opposed to trying to get bigger and then trying to, kind of redeem our relevance by going back down to the people that we were trying to connect with, So I think you've got to lean on the fact that you're small and you're nimble and you're a real young team,
When you started off 4+ years ago, did you think that was the dream to get to where you are now? Or did you say, no, we're just going to be niche and stay very small? As I mentioned, you've got 70 people working for you now.
The dream was always to sprint like absolute crazy. That was, as 3 co-founders, that was the thing that we shook our hands on the day before we launched. We'd always just said we'd go for the roller coaster. When we started this, we didn't think that Brexit and once in a century pandemic would be thrown in at the same time, which is too much of a roller coaster for anyone to take. But we're probably, as a result of COVID, we're probably maybe 2 years ahead of what we had planned to do. So I think, like Conall had said there, and I'm really conscious, that this has been a difficult year for everybody. So I don't want anyone to think for any second that we're not incredibly grateful for the year that we've had. We know that we have fallen into one of the luckiest categories that you could fall into. I have friends who run businesses who just by pure luck, their businesses have fallen apart over the last 12 months. We are very, very lucky. Our business has improved as a result of COVID, because if you can't go on holidays and you can't go for a few drinks and you can't go to a restaurant, there's only a few things left that you can buy, and we've been lucky enough to fall into that. So all of our projections were constantly kind of out of date, to be honest, by kind of June last year. And again, what Conall said, it's stressful. Lucky for us, it's good stress, but when a business is kind of growing at that rate, trying to keep up with it is very stressful as well.
To come to the questions, some of the questions coming in here, some are very interesting. But I have to ask you, if you're so far ahead in your projections at the moment, and that the pandemic is good for them, maybe not, do you worry that after the COVID is over, that
Conall? Sorry.
In the business?
Conall, could you repeat that, please? Your connection dropped there.
Did you hear me? Did you hear me?
Sorry, you're coming in and out.
Yeah. Do you want to try that again?
I haven't moved. Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry, Dermot. I'm going to just say to you, you say there that you're way, way, way ahead of projections because the pandemic has been good for you in a business sense. when the pandemic is over, which hopefully will be in the next couple of months, do you worry that things will revert, not just to normal, but maybe reverse?
Yeah, it's a big fear because we've engaged with a few research companies just to get a handle on what might go on. But all the projections are that hopefully by the time the summer comes around, everyone's intentions is to go on the biggest holiday they've ever gone on, and meet all their friends, go to every restaurant in the country, go on every camping trip in West Cork that you've ever planned to go on or whatever, you know. So yeah, that is a concern. I think we have to bake that into our finances and our projections, and also just make sure that, you know, anyone who's joined the team and investors and things like that just understand that. To be honest, I like Q3 would be the kind of, this year would be the kind of worrying quarter for us, you know, in terms of like what is going to happen. Even last summer when it's kind of weird and you forget now how low the cases were last summer and how kind of relatively free life was. But when the stores opened back up, you know, the online side of the business like went very, very quiet because people were just enjoying their lives again. So, you know, yeah, dare I say more lockdowns, but no, my personal life takes over there. I'm happy enough to ride out the problems. I think we don't want that freedom back.
The joys of business, because now you're worrying for 2 quarters hence, because that's what people do, which is a nice segue. One of the questions that have been sent here, and I'll start with you, Conall, is what is your favorite part of owning your own business?
Yeah, I think the favorite part for me is the ability to just execute on a vision, and like that really came from even a young age, where I was kind of looking at things like computer games and animation and all those different things, and I guess one day I just had an epiphany that it was kind of like, well, someone does this, why can't I? And so I was able to really take kind of like that, as I said, that obsession with engineering, and then start to kind of shape things the way that I believed that it could be. But for me, it's not even just about that anymore. It's really grown to be about growing a team, collaborating, working on something together, and the execution of that. It's not just about having ideas; it's about how you actually display them and how you get them out there to market. And for those would be the big things for me. Like I just really want to kind of keep building products. Really, and I was worried that I wouldn't have that opportunity if I went to a big company. I was also told I'm totally unhireable now, so that's maybe part of it as well.
Yeah. Well, listen, if they're the positives, I may as well ask you. Yeah. There are things that you don't like. There has to be. Everybody has that you don't like about business. What are they?
Yeah, the day-to-day running of it. It's that part. Yeah, you leave me in a workshop. I'll work there 24/7. Ask me to log into revenue and look at some forms or something. Then that'll be like, that's procrastination central.
Yeah.
And sorry.
Banking.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. But I'm very fortunate to have an amazing CEO who kind of actually came here from Silicon Valley. And she kind of manages that part of the business, and so I'm very, very fortunate that I've got that kind of combination. And that's to the previous point of bring in the people who are really good at the things that you don't like doing, and then you can focus on the things that you're best at.
Which is a very good answer, because it means that if you're thinking of setting up business, you don't have to say, God, I wouldn't go into business because I'd hate to do X. Because you get John or Mary to do X, and you do the bits that you like. Fiddling around with your Lego set.
I know. Well, actually, we did actually do some Lego projects. So we ended up building a facial recognition Ferris wheel for Vodafone that was put in their exhibition center down in Sandymount. And that basically what happened there is you walked up and if you smiled at it, then it would start to turn. So it's used the energy of your positivity was able to be converted into electricity.
Cool. That's really, really cool. I love that.
Yeah, well, it started as a joke, and then they were like, "No, that sounds great." And we were okay. Well, we probably should go build that for you then. And yeah. So it's the team thing. And if I could go back and if I was starting again, I would go and look for co-founders first. Because if we're going to jump into, I guess, some of the negativities of being a solo founder, you have a hell of a lot of burdens on you. And that can be a lot to take on. And it's really good to kind of share those pains.
Now, that's a very interesting one. And anybody who wants to, on April the 1st, I have John Teeling, the founder of Teeling's Whiskey. He's coming on
He's great.
to the podcast. His view is he doesn't believe in co-founders at all.
Oh.
One boss, one view. And he'd be interesting to see a counter view. Conall, the good and the bad and the ugly of business.
Yeah, I mean, similar to Conall, like I've been creating things in my father's workshop since I was a kid, since I was able to reach the bench. And, when I was a teenager, I decided I could make outdoor furniture in the summers because, why not? Have a go. So I did, and I made some money, and I always enjoyed it. And then I went off to college and did, the thing. I got a job in design and worked as an industrial designer and an exhibition designer for other people. And I suppose the one thing that bugged me there was that I couldn't get my ideas across and I couldn't get my designs across. Whereas now, I design them and they're mine. If everyone else likes them, great. But no, it's great to be able to just share your creativity with the world. And like recently, just as Dermot was talking about community there, I've been sharing my designs more with our followers on Instagram and other social media channels, and they love getting involved in it. We put up some artwork for a new design, and people the response is amazing. So it's great to have that side of things, which you wouldn't get that if you were just clocking in and out. Same again, like it's the admin is, I was trying to do it today. I think I got an hour's work done. I'll just straight back onto CAD and started designing again. So yeah, it is interesting. But again, I'm a sole founder as well. So again, it is all on me at the moment. And I think, but the one thing I know I can do is hire the right people to help me. I know the things I'm not good at. I know the things I don't want to do. So I'm more than happy to get people on the team that can help me run those jobs.
I couldn't have been a sole founder. Yeah. Absolutely no way. No.
It is quite overwhelming at times, but there's pros and cons, I guess. But it is nice to be able to bounce ideas off people. I guess it's 3 of you at Jim Plus Coffee, and I guess that's a great way of just being able to build up ideas and just discuss out your plans. Like it's really. Yeah. I do have some colleagues and friends that I can do that with. They're very interested in what I'm doing, and they love that I'm now succeeding doing it. So I guess they're free business partners in a way.
You're all making me feel very inadequate because you guys can make things. If I wasn't able to talk, I'd be useless. I hate all the form filling, can't make anything, couldn't design to save my life. I can talk a lot though.
Well, you could be in sales then.
Yeah.
I can't make anything. I don't know why you're lumping me in there.
Here's another question to all of you. What are the biggest challenges you've encountered over the years and how did you overcome them? Let's take just one each because I'm sure there are many. So, Conall, I'll go back to you again. Biggest challenge you've had from beginning?
From beginning the business, I guess it was self-belief. Like I've designed products, most of my adult life, and they're always for a particular, like if it was exhibition design, it was only a very short thing, or if it was interior architecture or whatever, it was, it didn't feel as impactful as what I was doing myself. And then just believing in what I was creating and believing other people would find value in it and find the same value that I feel, that was very difficult. And just having the confidence to put it out there. And
what gave you confidence?
It was, it was a very slow process of people finding us and investing in and spending their money on what we were making. Like that was a huge thing. And then the feedback afterwards, you like as Jeremy was saying, like Nike's not going to email you and ask you, did you like your purchase? Whereas I'd have conversations on social media with people who've purchased our products, and first of all, they're delighted to hear from you, and it's not someone like a member of staff or a bot. And just talking to them and getting their feedback was amazing. And then talking to people who said, "Oh, you're the hookah guy. I was at a house party and I saw one of your products there. We all had great time on it." Things like that. It really pushes you ahead and really gives you the confidence to have a go.
Dermot, same question.
I suppose two things. Well, there's definitely self-belief or lack of belief or whatever you want to call it. That's like a constant struggle. probably never really goes away, I suppose, to a certain
Yeah.
extent. But I think two things for us has been supply chain. We figuring that out. Like the three of us who started it had absolutely no experience in any aspect of the business that we get started. So we were kind of learning everything on the fly, and every crunch time every year we've had supply chain or logistics issues, and then petrol on that fire during COVID, when it's a bit of a crisis for all businesses, and then we actually had big sales, and then that caused its own issues. So we struggled with that. We kind of continue to struggle with that. And then things like Brexit, and COVID don't really help when you've just got product moving all over the place. So that's been a real struggle, and I suppose it's something that people don't talk about as much. You don't really get a lot of questions about operations and admin, and logistics and those kind of things. But like, I'm a co-founder that has co-founder responsibilities, but marketing is my background. But like, the amount of time over the last few years that I've spent on supply chain and logistics is incredible, because you just put the focus on wherever the business needs, the help or whatever, So, and the other thing I'd say is finance. I just so many frustrations around finance and around banking, and people who say backing brave and all those kind of things. If you
whoever could you mean?
I don't know, but when you actually think about the people who've received or who you get assistance from, and I'm not just saying it because of the event we're on now, but like your local enterprise office, people who are actually willing to listen to you and stuff, and businesses that are legitimate businesses that have growth plans with real numbers, and we need to support those people with finances and not make those people go to, for want of a better term, like loan sharks on the internet, where you're trying to get money. That's a kind of a bugbear of mine, to be honest, where I think we just need to support small businesses much more. It's 50% of people in Ireland are employed in a SME, so we need to give that group assistance, I think.
Well, there's no doubt that the Leos, and again, just like you, I'm not saying it because I'm standing here, but you'll hear it week after week after week after week on the podcast, that backing right across the way from the Leos, fantastic. And here's another little tip, and I'm sure Leo Donegal will kill me for this, but it was a woman from Cullen Nurseries in Kildare, Katrina Cullen. She was on the podcast, and what she's doing at the moment, she's got kids, she's got a business, and she's handpicking whatever courses a Leo is running. I know that she was online for a Leo Claire course, etc., etc. It suited her. It was addressing whatever issue she needed, and it was on whatever time she was able to mind the kids or whatever. Great idea. I love those little hacks. Speaking of hacks, just another question popping up here. They pop up for about 5 seconds and I have to remember them. And I'll ask, I may as well go to you, Conall, is if you are looking for a co-founder and you aren't, and you didn't, but how would you go about, or would you, because you mentioned a co-founder might have been useful, but what would you look in a co-founder?
Yeah, well, you got to start with the basics. Do I get on with this person? What
I'm going to interrupt you there for a second, because you do not know, it's not unlike a marriage or something. You don't really know what they're like until you live with them. Have we frozen again?
Hello? Okay. Did I break up there for a second? Sorry.
Just 1 second, Jeff.
Yeah, so this is a part that I'm kind of obsessed with as well, is actually culture. So when you look at kind of when we bring people on the team, my interview is actually only about 15-20 minutes. They spend more time interviewing with the rest of the team. And that's why I find it's really important that or if you're even looking for a co-founder as well, it can be difficult, of course, to find out. You can't get every single thing about them. Like our CEO actually, her dad had a private investigator do a background check on me, and I've never seen that file, but it mustn't have been that bad, which means they didn't get the truth. But for me, it's kind of the passion is something that you can't teach something. So it's someone, sorry. So if you've got someone who's coming in and maybe they're not the best salesperson in the world, maybe they're not the best ops person, maybe they're not the best kind of whatever the things that you need, but they're coming into you and saying, I will dedicate myself to this. I want to be a part of this journey. Then you've got to take advantage of that, and that's what it's really all about. It's about that journey, and you're looking for people who want to come for the ride along.
Conall,
Yeah.
Same question.
I was lucky, like I said before, I was lucky that I had some friends who had started businesses in the past, and they weren't looking to start another business, but they were very willing to share their experiences. And again, like I suppose opposite of Diarmuid and the guys, I started off with a light stroll, and I'll eventually get to that epic roller coaster of a run in a few years. But because I started off the way I did, there was no real pressure, because first of all, it was just me doing things. And then it was, in fact, it's funny, a friend I grew up with, and we were making things together when we were pre-teens, He moved back from Australia and as a carpenter and didn't have anything really happening. So he stepped on and helped with production. So that was like the first employee. And I think I've been very fortunate with the friends I've had and, family as well that have all gotten into that. So it's kind of got the best of both worlds. I'm getting all the advice and I get to keep all the profit.
Or the losses, unfortunately.
And the losses. Keep it positive, Conall. Keep it positive.
Diarmuid, you have the other two co-founders with you.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a sleepless night saying, one of them or maybe the two of them aren't going?
You gone again, Conall?
Sorry, Conall, you've gone again on me. Maybe it's just me.
Are you doing something, Diarmuid, so you don't like these questions?
No, if I don't like the hard questions, I just I shut them down.
I'm called Colin, so I could just fill in for him whenever it's frozen. I'll just ask a few questions instead.
Trying to think of what he was asking me.
I think he was going to ask you: are there any? Would you get rid of your co-founders if you could? I think it was going that way anyway.
Don't answer that in public, Diarmuid.
Yeah. It is recorded. You better not answer that one.
I'll have to talk to my solicitors before I answer that.
But Diarmuid, when you were starting out with the guys, did you said like when you were launching that you were ready to hit the ground running? But when you first started talking about the idea, what were your thoughts then?
Oh, we literally didn't have a clue what we were doing or what we were talking about. Like really, we were full of ambition, but not a clue. I think in terms of we're just doing anything to get it off the ground. And I think Conall was going to bring the conversation that way as well. Like how do you get something? How do you get a momentum behind it? And you literally are doing absolutely anything to get it off the ground. So it's about using any skill you have, not the skills that you have. Like it's literally doing anything to get the word out there, to build a brand. As everybody who runs a business knows, like you're just, you're really crawling and dragging yourself along. So just to bring it back to the kind of co-founder conversation, I guess the thing that's kind of worked out well for us so far probably has been that naturally we have different skill sets or different experiences in the past. So things kind of, more things need to be done the more you grow. So you kind of go your separate ways. Like, as three of us co-founders now would, we'd overlap in certain areas, but in other areas, like I wouldn't work with the lads at all. I have a marketing team, customer service team, e-commerce team, like all in one that I look after, but I don't apart from like a management level, I don't really get involved in the product team as much as I would have, say, 2 years ago, so it all starts to split up and you trust one another and everyone's working their ass off. So there's kind of no worries there. And kind of like, 100% agree with you about culture. Culture is probably the most important thing in a company these days, because people want to work for a company that they're passionate about, whether they're an employee or a co-founder. And I think that doesn't matter if you've got 4 staff or 70 staff or whatever. Like at the moment when we're interviewing people, you'll be interviewed by 4 members of Gym Plus Coffee, 4 team members, because the candidate needs to get a full picture of the company, and the company needs to get a full picture of the candidate, and you want kind of a general feeling from everybody. It's not just like, oh, you interviewed by me and I say the person is great, so they're into the team. Like, every addition to the team is a really important role, because geez, it can really upset the apple cart quite quickly if you just start hiring loads of different people with different attitudes and stuff. So yeah.
Yes, I find like having like as democratic an environment as possible is really, really important, especially when you're at the early stages, because if you go too autocratic, then people are just not going to be willing to go on that movement with you. So it really there has to be a sense of definitely purpose and belonging for everyone on the team, regardless of kind of what level they're at or how long they've been there or what they're doing.
Yeah. It's funny, I didn't start out with a co-founder, but I'm now taking on a business partner who specializes in digital marketing, which is an area that's it's just somewhere, it's an area that I'm not familiar with, and I don't think I have the interest to learn it. So it is important to bring someone in, like you guys saying, that can do the things you can't do or don't want to do.
I'm sorry I disappeared there for a few minutes, but I am back, and I just see other questions popping up. Now, I love this question. I would ask this question of any entrepreneur, really, to see if there's an opportunity in it for me. What areas would any of you go into if you weren't doing what you are doing? Who'd like to take that one? Conall, maybe to start.
Oh, it's pretty.
I'm telling everybody, you're not prepped for this. These are coming in.
Yeah. So as I've alluded to numerous times, I'm obsessed with all things engineering. And with especially over the previous year, I've kind of been looking at, well, what are the inevitable things that are going to happen? And for me, I'm totally fascinated by even kind of the movements that are going to happen in genetics very soon. So looking at CRISPR-Cas9 and the kind of the ability that we're going to have to essentially to program, I guess, organic materials the same way as we do computers. And that will lead to incredible treatments, foods, and solve a lot of the problems that we have around the world. Unfortunately, not COVID today. And so I think that the world of biology and medtech is going to be absolutely incredible. But the other pieces that I'm really interested in as well is, as you can see from behind me, space. If you're kind of looking at the size of our little rock, in terms of the vastness of that's out there, there is certainly unlimited opportunity. And looking at the ways we can create, I guess, better transportation systems and new ways to kind of live and explore is really an infinite frontier.
Well, that's a good answer, I think. Would you, just as a 5-second answer, would you at the moment go up into a rocket?
Absolutely. Maybe not yesterday's because it blew up. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to. I think I was actually talking to the team about it earlier. I think a lot of us will go there within the next 20-25 years.
You're on your own.
Well, there's the space hotel that's starting construction next year, isn't there? We can all go see that at some point.
Exactly.
Carl, what idea or sector would you choose outside of your own that just say, God, there's an opportunity there, I can see it, if only you had time?
Yeah. I suppose the reason I got into design is because good design helps people do things, and good engineering as well. And I've always had an interest in prosthetic limbs, and the affordability of that with 3D printers it's something. Conall, I'm sure you could knock out an arm for someone in no time. I've always found...
Randomly, someone asked me this before. I got a random email one day. Someone asked me to design a prosthetic arm, and I don't know why they thought I did that, but I was very tempted to go down that route and try.
Can I tell you, there is a company in Tralee, WASP, W-A-Z-P,
WASP, yeah, 3D printers.
Will knock you out on 3D, a prosthetic arm. So there.
Yeah.
What I know in my head.
I think it's such an interesting area, and it's like to be able to give someone the opportunity to drink a cup of water again. I think it's amazing. It's such a simple thing, But yeah, I think if I had the patience to get into engineering, that's probably where I'd go.
Dermot, same to you.
Well, I'm not nearly as technical as the two lads, so I can't crack out a very impressive answer. But I think what I'd be really interested in is kind of experiences, and maybe it's slightly connected to what we're doing, but like how wellness experiences and wellness tourism and mental health will develop over the next 20 years. I think we will become part of a ever increasingly digital world, which will have benefits and then also consequences as well, which will mean that people will, go on wellness getaways and things like that. And I think what a lot of companies that I follow are really interested in is just, how women will kind of drive most or all of this. Even the category that we're in, the athleisure category, it was created because of changes in demographics of women and high disposable income, college educated, late 90s, early 2000s in North America. And that's kind of just swept across the world in terms of like a fitness craze that is not team sport related, if you know what I mean. So I'm kind of fascinated to see where things go in the next 20 years, because I think loads of issues will come up because of people being addicted to technology and things like that. So on the opposite side of that, we'll crave these experiences. You see it all over Ireland already. There's amazing, wellness tourism places popping up, but I think those things will become even more kind of branded and chained. And I think things like Headspace will just become even bigger and will come into the real world in terms of their mental health options. So I'm kind of fascinated with what's going on there.
And there's a handful of questions. They're kind of interrelated, but some of them are a bit too specific. Maybe somebody asking about where they go for funding for a software company, just funding in general, experiences, any tips, any hacks, any shortcuts about funding. Should you tap into friends and family? Should you go to, obviously, Leo's? Yes. Obviously, EI, Enterprise Ireland? Yes. But any other ideas that people have about, again, Dermot, I may as well start with you since I'm doing it in reverse order again.
Well, definitely Leo's your first port of call there, no doubt. They helped us, hire our first three people, I think, through that grant. Online trading, vouchers, all of these things that you just don't have cash. We didn't pay ourselves any money for the first 24 months. So
just hold it there. Say that again slowly, because for those who think setting up business is easy, 24 months, that's just to remind people, that's 2 years. Did you drop a lot of weight?
There was a few days of living on coffees from the office or whatever, the little coffee machine that we made. But yeah, I mean, it was no, it wasn't a kind of a poor man's story or anything like that. But it's more the reality of how nerve-wracking it is and how stressful it is. And I bought a house, drew down my mortgage, handed in my notice the next day, and went working Jim Plus Coffee full time about 3 days later. If the bank manager knew that the day before I drew down, I think I would have been in breach of my contract. So, but these are the things you have to do. You have to roll the dice, I suppose. And but yeah, there was no way we could have taken. We were pouring any money back in, and that's when things like, I think it's a €2,000 online trading voucher for digital marketing spend from the Leo. That's your lifeline. That's your breathing life into the business. And anyone, if anyone snubs at those kind of things early on, they must have deep pockets themselves or something, because you need that. You need those grants.
Conall, what's the answer?
Oh, sorry. I wasn't sure if you're saying Cal or Conall there. So I went a bit of a different route, right? So obviously, depending on the type of company you have, you're going to have different methods and routes you can go down. So I started originally up north in Northern Ireland, and then moved to Dublin to join Accelerator. so the NDRC Accelerator. And that came along with some kind of initial equity funding. And actually, just to plug the new NDRC today, which is being run by Dogpatch Labs, they just actually opened up applications. So if you are kind of, I don't think it's just limited to tech, it's just any Indigenous R&D based company, then you can get 100K funding into your business. So we went that route, and then we took on venture capital in our first kind of venture capital round kind of in 2017, and we've taken on more kind of since from investors, including Enterprise Ireland as well. For a lot of people and that type of business, or technology types of business, HPSU is a no-brainer. It gives you an opportunity to bring in someone like Enterprise Ireland to your company if you've got kind of some private co-funding that you can bring in alongside with that. And we've seen a lot of fantastic businesses created as a result of that. Now, the other thing is I have had experience from even a young age when I had my first business when I was about 13, where I was selling, where it was bootstrap, selling SIM cards in the playground, still did, 5 figures of revenue at 13, which I was pretty happy about. Even the teachers were buying the products. So there are totally different ways to do it. And if I was to go back, I would probably spend a little bit more time bootstrapping and generating revenue at the early stages, because that is not only one way to fund your business, it's also the way to validate it.
And just in case anybody watching doesn't quite get the idea of bootstrapping, that means living on fumes. You don't make anything, you just work.
You have to sell the fumes as well.
Listen, I better go, Conall. The same question again. It's very interesting that each of you have very, very different businesses. So therefore, funding requirements will be very different. And I presume that the experiences will be different. What was your experience, and what is your experience, Conall?
Yeah, so I didn't really go for funding. I stayed working until this time last year. I was still working, freelancing as a designer, and that was my main source of income. I was able then to use any sales money to invest in the business and invest in staff. I use savings and my paycheck. And again, bootstrapping all the way. And when I wasn't working as a designer, I was working on Huku. So the funding didn't come into place until I talked to the local enterprise office. And that's the only experience I have with the funding, and it's been very positive. I think I remember earlier when I mentioned confidence in my abilities and the abilities of the brand. When I came to the local enterprise office, they believed in it more than I did at the beginning. I just brought an idea, and their reaction was the same as anyone else's. I was the last to really, really believe in it. So the fact that they put their money up, and that was amazing. And again, that's something else that helped massively. But it was all about savings and working a second job.
I was talking the other day to a guy up in Scotland, and he is almost crying because of the lack of support in Scotland and across the UK. And they look at Enterprise Ireland and at the Leo model as being exemplary, not just in these islands, right across the world. They say Ireland is the best. So we maybe don't pat ourselves on the back enough about how good the system is. It's not perfect, never will be, but not bad. Here's another one, and I love this one as well. Was there anything that any of you set up that didn't work? Now tell the truth. This is warts and all. Who wants to take that? Conall.
So there was another business when I was 13. And I think I told you about it the other day on the phone. So what it was, I'd found a way to get mobile phone games, and I hosted them for free. Unfortunately, that went viral. So this was about 18 years ago, and I was getting hundreds of thousands of uniques every month. Now, obviously, the game publishers didn't really like that that I was giving away their games for free. It was costing them quite a bit of money. So that was when I first learned about cease and desist. So that's when I moved away from that business idea. So that one didn't really work out. And to even to Cal's point about kind of making things in furniture, I tried to do that at a young age as well. And I very quickly learned I had to learn about physics before I was going to pursue that any further. I love trying things. I love experimenting with things. But I think what you've got to do is, if you try things and you fail, you got to just take the learnings, and that's the best way to react.
And there's a truth in that, isn't there? You don't actually miss out or lose when something fails. I know it's easy to say, maybe even trite, but you do learn. The one thing the absolute truth is that didn't work. You've learned from that. that it didn't work. So try, if it's a different color or something, try something new.
Yeah.
I'll think to you, anything that you've tried and that didn't work.
So who, Dermot or myself?
Cahill, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I beg your pardon.
Well, yeah, I guess when I was 13, I had a business idea and I shared it with the wrong person. And that person ended up making a fair bit of money off of it.
Oh, no, I hate those stories.
So I kind of learned to just be a little bit more reserved about my ideas in the beginnings at that point.
But
I
let
wish
me
you
cut
told me about the
across
games
there.
company.
Let me cut across there, because that is a very common issue, that you say, if I tell anybody about my new rocket or my new T-shirt or whatever, it'll all be copied. But as one of my closest friends says, an idea in a drawer
Yeah.
is nothing.
There
If you have to take it out and show it. So if you hadn't shared that with your pal.
Yeah. He made enough to buy a quad that summer, and he was only 14, so it was a good summer for him. But what I learned is, ideas aren't anything unless you act on them. So if you've got an idea and you believe in it or you're curious about it, you got to act on it, because someone else might, and they'll reap the benefits.
Exactly. Dermot, same question.
Yeah.
Anything that you've done or tried or
He's back.
a fail?
Oh yeah, and absolutely dozens of failures with Gym Plus Coffee as well in smaller scale, trying to do things and just not working. You just have to kind of just pack it away, move on to the next thing, try the next thing. Around 2011, 2012, myself and a friend developed an app for for ourselves as hurling and football fans. We were watching all the games, couldn't find out any more information about the players because I suppose RT and the GA don't like to give the players too much, fame because it's all about the central game or whatever. So we were like, no, I'm watching the match. I want to know where this player is from, what club, age, weight, achievements, all that kind of thing. Absolutely no technical expertise. So we built the app with a team of guys from India, pitched it to the GPA. GPA loved it, ran it by the GAA, and then the whole players' image rights, all of that kind of came into the mix. Maybe it's a good thing it didn't go ahead because we had absolutely no experience. We didn't have a clue what we were talking about, but we were just trying to sell it to the GPA. But yeah, and then I went to Australia for 2.5 years, and then came back and with lots of ideas and lots of ambition and an absolutely certainty that I wasn't going to work for anyone again. So I had the absolute, just to show you how sure I was about not working for anyone else. One of my clients, I used to work in advertising agencies, and one of my clients in Australia was an Australian makeup brand, and I was like, I'm gonna be the distributor in Europe. Absolutely no idea what I was doing or what I was talking about. Went all the way, signed contracts, had plans, put pretty much a huge chunk of savings into it at the time, and then the company in Australia figured out that they'd have to print different bottles for the EU than the bottles, and they weren't willing to do a different production run for Europe as a test case. So it all went south after me working on it for about 5 months. And then after me telling everyone in my life, friends and family, that I'd never work for someone again, I went off with my tail between my legs and went to the nearest company because I had to get a salary again straight away. So there's loads of stories like that. Jesus.
The bumpy road of the entrepreneur. Another question that's just popped up, which is really relevant. How do you know, or when do you know, the idea is not going to work? Who'd like that? Conall, again, why not?
Yeah, like even German's been saying there, kind of about the failures that they had, and we've had ours as well. Why was a very different company when it was born than what it is today. It was originally focused on helping engineers to build electronics products and providing them essentially with, let's call it Stripe for the Internet of Things. So taking care of all that complex infrastructure. But as we went further and further down that route, we realized, well, they don't like to pay for anything. and we have to make money. So whilst we had this kind of great community, great network, and lots of people using it, we then had to make a really tough decision and go, well, actually, if we're going to try to create this a commercial venture, then we have to kind of look at different areas in different ways. And that's how we ended up going down the smart building route, because we figured, okay, well, we can take a lot of the learnings that we've had from these kind of engineers and apply it to the world of property, and you know, change that industry instead, because we know that the property market is the biggest market in the world.
Now, on that, on saying you had to take the hard decision, at what point do you say, you know, you've known the problem is there for 3 months, being the entrepreneur, and I've been down this road myself, you say, might work next month or in 5 months, or at what point do you say, no, time to cut? I was a stockbroker once, and we had a phrase called the first cut is the cheapest, because just cut it and get out. But of course, that's not what really happens. We say, you know, you always say tomorrow's going to be a better day.
Yeah, so like even as of recent, right? So we developed that hardware product that I just showed you earlier, and I was building those in my living room. We had manufacturing facilities all lined up and everything as well for that. But then we kind of realized, well, you know what, we're better as a software company. And so that's when we kind of moved away from actually manufacturing our own hardware, and now we're working in the background on a licensing deal instead, because that allows us to focus on our core competency instead. But those types of decisions, I don't think you can ever make early enough. I think the best way to do that is to kind of put all your cards on the table, speak to loads of as many smart people as you can, and then garner that opinion, and ask people, or get the people in who are going to ask you the tough questions, and make you kind of really think hard. And if you can't answer those questions, then it just answers itself.
Dermot, how long did it take you to make up your mind about a bad idea or a bad decision or a bad product?
To be honest, not that long. You know, you you start pitching it to your own team and you don't get much of a reaction. You kind of know
it's gone beyond that, and it's not getting traction in the market. So you put time, money, maybe reputation against it. And what do you do? 1 month, 5 months? What's your measure?
Well, for us with the kind of product range and stuff, I suppose it's a couple of months. You know, something. You know, if it doesn't get an instant reaction, you know, people aren't, you know, literally flocking to it. So then you put a few tactics in place from our side to make sure that people are seeing it over and over again. They've absolutely no barrier in their way to purchase it. And if they're still saying no, we've got things horrendously wrong on some, you know, product introductions, and then other things they fly. So I think you can, you know, you put an absolute huge amount of effort into things sometimes to make them perfect, and then you launch it to the world, and the feedback is the complete opposite. And you need to roll with that, and you just incorporate it into your next plans. And we launched our biggest ever product launch last Thursday. Brilliant reaction. But you know, some of the products that we were expecting to do huge numbers didn't, and then other products we thought would be kind of supporting roles were the best sellers, and then you just kind of need to react to that and replan, and it's like with everything nowadays, you know, you're getting instant feedback, you're getting it in real time, and you should be using the best, most scalable platforms, no matter what area of work you're in. I think so. Like, all of that information is coming to you in real time about what people are engaging with. So listen to what people are saying. Don't try and force your own opinion. Like, you know, just listen to what they want and give them what they want. That's
definitely. Yeah.
Sometimes the customer can be right.
Except in customer service. But yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
I think that real-time validation thing is so key that you just mentioned there as well. Like, when we were releasing our first smart building hardware product, we didn't build anything. I just created a render and put a GIF on Twitter. And then we had like the head of corporate development for some of the largest companies in the world reach out just because they saw that tweet. And then we decided, okay, now we'll build a product sheet. Now we'll actually go and try if we can build it. And then we were kind of, it's a really good way to kind of validate it without costing anything, and to allow you to continue with the main aspects of the business.
Cathal,
Yeah.
same question to you. At what point do you say, no, this ain't working? And have you had any of those?
Yeah, I guess that point's changed as your experience grows. I guess in the beginning, I would have been more emotional about it. Like, I like it, it'll work, keep pushing it. But then no, you gotta just you gotta have your targets, and if they're not meeting the targets, they gotta go. Like I've loads of products that the world's never gonna see with a Huku brand on it because I've designed them, I've prototyped them, I've sent them out to people, gotten feedback, and the feedback's not what I've expected. So, you got to listen. Like for me, with the products that we make, we're all based around health and wellness or balance. It's about core strength. It's about, I got to talk to physios. I'm not a physiotherapist, but I got to talk to physios. I've got to take their advice. So yeah, it's at the moment now it's about numbers. If it's not performing, I can design another product that will perform. So it's got to go.
There's a phrase in startup land called fake it till you make it. All of you, I think, probably have heard it. Have you done so? Have you faked things to make yourselves look bigger at startup? And in doing so, what was your best one that you ever pulled? Conall, I'll start with you again.
Been on the Late Late Show there just in November.
But in terms of faking it,
Yeah.
as in to pretend that you're bigger than you are.
I've never done that. My biggest fear was meeting demand. My fear was never about making too much and not being able to sell it. It was not making enough, which is where we've been recently. It was the thing that stressed me most. So that's always been at the forefront of my mind. And because of that, I didn't want to create more demand than I was capable of meeting. So probably different to the guys there, I'm probably doing it backwards, and 90% of people might tell me that you're doing it wrong, and
if it's working for you, it's working. So
yeah.
There's no such thing as right or wrong. It's right for
I guess
you.
that depends on your targets too. My targets last year they were big in my mind, but at the end of the year they were actually quite small because I surpassed them by so much. So I've learned to now push a bit more. So you'll probably see a lot of faking going on in the next 6 months. And making in the 12 months.
Even the biggest companies have surpassed their targets. You might have seen Zoom outdid itself by 370% above target. So, even the large corporations, Conall, faking it till you're making it. Did you do it?
Yeah, just even to explain, go back to that, the DFS1, the people counting product that we built. We went off and did that ourselves because we found a gap in the world, a gap in the market for something like this. But the reality of it is, it was built in my living room and put into some of the biggest properties in Dublin. And we were able to do that because we kind of got the fundamental in, but then in the background, we were updating the software every single day. Just sending software updates and no one would ever notice. But because of that, we were able to then create a really great product. But in terms of a lot of people thought, yeah, this is fully ready to go, but we were kind of going, well, I wouldn't fully depend on it just yet. But luckily we had people who are willing to go with us on that cycle, at least.
Again, Diarmuid?
I would, in my experience, you have to do it every single. It depends on your personality. You have to do it every single day.
That's true too.
Every single person that you're talking to, because every situation that I go into, I've never been in that situation before. So I think if you're a really naturally confident person, that's fine. I wouldn't be that kind of. I'm not 100% sure of what I'm talking about because I've never been here before. If you know what I mean. So I think we've always told a very authentic story about what we're trying to do. If you follow our blog from literally the 1st of January 2017, but equally, I'll try and talk everything up. And if I'm in a scenario where someone is like, let's take our first ever pop-up store, the people who run Dundrum Town Centre in Dublin, they're like, look, we have this opportunity. Don't know if you guys are big enough to turn it around. There's a pop-up store opportunity and it's starting in 12 days time. And we were like, yeah, look, absolutely no problem. We've lots of experience in doing this. We could fit it out. We did not like no clue, like absolutely zero clue of what we were talking about. But that just happens, and it gets bigger and bigger, you know. But you just have to kind of back yourself. So I think fake it till you make it kind of is more about the belief as opposed to, you know, you're spoofing someone, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I know the subtle difference there. Yeah.
I actually just.
We're going to have to wrap up here very quickly, so I'm going to just ask each one of you, in 5 years' time, when we have another Leo chat like this, where will you be, or what will you be doing? Conall, I'll ask you first. In 5 years' time, what will the company? How big will it be, and what will you be doing?
We'll be chasing Diarmuid and the guys, and we'll have about 70 employees. So we just hope to keep growing and hope creating jobs locally and really develop a worldwide brand, you know.
And that is, I should of course have said that from the beginning. Local jobs, so incredibly important, particularly on our little island here. But one of the things that COVID may have done is push people out of the city here where I am, and hopefully sent them back to rural Ireland where it's just too gorgeous. Conall, what do you think in 5 years' time? Where will you be?
Yeah, so for us as a business, it's really about becoming central to the buildings themselves and to kind of reaching the next big thing that we have coming on in the world, which is kind of, you know, climate change and sustainability. And the technologies that we develop now and that we plan to develop in the future are going to help people to achieve those goals, and so we don't have some catastrophic 2012-esque event. For me, it'll just, from person perspective, it'll be kind of continue to be obsessed with engineering and hopefully being able to focus more on nonprofits, which is something that I got to do a lot of this time 12 months ago when I got my first venture into kind of building ventilators around the world, which was pretty exciting.
Which we should have talked on, but that's a different story, and it's a fascinating story. So I suppose final word to you, Diarmuid, is in 5 years' time, where will Gin Plus Coffee be?
Well, hopefully an international brand. So that's the ambition. We've always been quite open about that in terms of, we think that there's a place on an international stage for an Irish brand that represents a modern Ireland, that represents a kind of a younger generation of people who I suppose want to express their Irishness in that kind of health and fitness and wellness space. You know, for us, we started the baby steps of that in October, and we opened our first London store. In April, we're going to open a store in Manchester, and we've, you know, been doing really good sales of late in Australia. So like, that's the plan over the next couple of years, is those markets, followed by North America. But I think in a kind of a broader sense, you know, we want to be what Gin Plus Coffee is about in terms of providing people more ways to be active, more ways to be healthy. So I would hope, you know, with my kind of brand hat on, that in 5 years' time we've expanded outside of clothing, and it's a bit wider than that. So that's the ambition. But it really is to just have a really, really proud Irish brand just at an international level. So
great. Well, listen, at this point, normally I would ask the audience in front of me to give you a round of applause, but they can't. So I'm sure they're all giving you thumbs up and all that kind of stuff. So Conall, Diarmuid, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for your time. I'm now going to hand over to Grace, to Brenda Hegarty, and to Aidan McKenna. So I don't know which of you are taking over from there, but thank you so much, and continued success. And everybody else, really good time on the Local Enterprise Week, and do make it happen.
Thanks.
thanks, guys.
Well, what a brilliant session. Thank you so much, Conall. That was just so inspiring, and all our speakers, but I'll come to the conclusion at the end. In this wee section, myself and then Aidan McKenna will speak shortly about the supports that are available to help and inspire more startups like those that we have just heard from in our region. So my name is Brenda Hegarty, and I am the Assistant Head of Enterprise here with the Local Enterprise Office in Donegal. But we didn't pay the guys there, but thanks for all the shout outs for the Local Enterprise Office, so we couldn't have wished for better. But basically, the Local Enterprise Office is your first stop shop for planning or starting a business. And I suppose what's critical is that we're looking for passionate people that have ideas, that are willing to start businesses in Ireland and create jobs. And if you're one of those, then certainly get in touch with the local enterprise office. We have a wide range of supports that can bring your business idea from an idea to start up. So just basically, we're part of Donegal County Council and we work with Enterprise Ireland, and we tend to be the port of call for anybody with less than 10 employees. So we offer advice, and that's usually the first port of call. Then we would also have training programs and programs like Start Your Own Business program, and that really gives you an opportunity to explore the idea and test that out. Our next one is starting now on the 16th of March in Donegal Leo, so if you want to consider that, please do get on our website, localenterprise.ie/Donegal, and you can sign up. It's online, it's over 5 weeks, 4 Tuesdays and Thursdays in the morning for 4 weeks. It's 4 weeks and then 1 gap week. And also there's mentoring as part of that, 4 hours mentoring. So it's a great offering if you have an idea and you want to test and validate your business. The other thing that we are engaged with for startups, and there was mention there of the NDRC Accelerator Program, but here in Leo Donegal, we're bringing a number of accelerator programs to people that have ideas. So we had our inaugural Women's Accelerator Program just in the autumn there, and we got great interest in that. It's a development program, and what they spoke about earlier around teams and the concept of teams and really testing and validating your idea, then an accelerator program gives you an opportunity to do that. So certainly if you're a female and Donegal diaspora females from around the world, there is an opportunity for our second accelerator program, and that's happening in the autumn time, but there's expressions of interest on our website. And we also are starting a tech accelerator program. So again, if you're in the tech space, if you have an idea and you would like to do some development work on that idea, market discovery and validation, then an accelerator program. I should say there was a €10,000 prize, so that's a bit of seed funding that can hopefully get the best ideas up and running. And then we also offer funding and grant funding. And grant funding is available for any business that comes to us that has the potential to create employment, is innovative and ambitious and has growth plans. So if you're in the manufacturing and the added value space with ambitions to grow internationally, we have funding. I'll not go into the details, but just to say up to 150,000 of funding. As Conall has mentioned here, we funded the salary support in his business, a wee bit of capital equipment. So it's both what you'll find in the Leo team here in Donegal, but also around the country. We're passionate to support good startups. So if you have a good idea, then certainly we have the range of supports, whether that's training, advice, grant aid or accelerator programs. So do get in touch. I will conclude by saying, and hand you over to Aidan, by saying that the local enterprise office, we host an information session the last Friday of each month. So that's a great space to identify what supports are available through the local enterprise office and can be your first engagement with ourselves. So without further ado, I think that was a whistle-stop tour of the supports, but just to give you a feel that there is a genuine range of supports available, and we would like you to progress with your ideas and your startups. So I'm going to pass over now to Aidan McKenna. Aidan is the Regional Director for Enterprise Ireland, and he is going to outline the range of supports that's available for startups from an Enterprise Ireland point of view.
Thanks very much, Brenda. And before I go into that, just congratulations to Conall and all the participants this evening. Fantastic conversation and really encouraging to hear, even despite the challenging year that we've had, we have some fantastic innovative companies plugging away and creating jobs throughout the country as well. And it's fantastic as well that we are celebrating Enterprise Week, albeit virtually this year as well, that it still goes ahead virtually. As Brenda said, I'll keep this brief, but we really, Enterprise Ireland, work hand in hand with the local enterprise office. The local enterprise office is without a doubt your first port of call if you're looking to start a business locally and you have ambition to grow that, whether it's internationally or domestically. That's the first place to focus on. And a lot of the supports that the local enterprise office have, we also work very closely with them and can offer those supports. If you move beyond 10 people, you could absolutely transfer into becoming an Enterprise Ireland client. I think Conall mentioned it earlier when he talked about the HPSU, the high potential startup division within Enterprise Ireland. This is a little bit different, and this is probably the point of differentiation between ourselves and the local enterprise office. When we look for a high potential startup, we define that as a company with the potential to create jobs, 10 or more jobs, and potentially generate revenues of 1 million or more within 3 years. This would be a manufacturing business or an internationally traded services business, a software company that is looking to go international from day one. And we have specific supports for those types of businesses. We typically co-invest with private investors. We can do match funding. And we also have a competitive start fund, which is a competitive call, one of which just closed there a couple of days ago, our first one of this year, where we offer up to €50,000 to help companies startups validate their ideas, get a little bit of early market traction. And that's for a very small equity position in the company as well. So we have a competitive start fund. I'd encourage anybody that's interested to go to our website, enterpriseireland.com/HPSU. You learn about information around our high potential startups, a competitive start fund. And I would also encourage people that are maybe have an idea and have a design in their heads and would like to tease that out, to actually reach out to the Institutes of Technology. Sligo IT and also Letterkenny IT offer people with ideas. You can apply for innovation vouchers. And innovation vouchers are a 5K voucher that we can support companies with to apply to the institutes to help tease that out and maybe develop early prototypes as well. So the other thing the institutes do very well is, of course, the New Frontiers program, which is kind of a pre-acceleration program that runs in the Northwest, and it helps entrepreneurs tease out their ideas and actually maybe move it beyond and get them investment ready. So that is a platform program, it's a program to help people spend a little bit more time, get a whole range of advice and support from various experts throughout a 6-month period, and ultimately at the end of the day, figure out whether their idea is going to be grow to the next level, or maybe they figured out that it's not for them, or it's not a market opportunity that they can exploit. And Brenda mentioned it as well. There's going to be a new innovation centre coming to Letterkenny. We were delighted under the Border Regional Enterprise Fund to support the Alpha project in association with Donegal Local Authority. That'll be in Letterkenny, and it'll be focusing on ICT and fintech companies and supporting SMEs with their innovation agenda in the region as well. So there's fantastic opportunities in the Northwest. We're delighted to be working very closely with our partners in the local enterprise office to support startups, entrepreneurs, and ensure that you get access to the supports. And probably on a final note, Brenda and Conall, I'll just mention that last year we announced our results for last year, and even in a difficult, adverse year, the startup scene is thriving. We invested over 48 million in startups, in about 125 startups last year. And it just goes to show you, this was one of the largest investments Enterprise Ireland had made in startups ever. And it just goes to show you that, these startups are moving forward, they're finding opportunities. And just like this evening, they pivot and are adaptable and innovative in terms of how they can move forward. So thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to cover some of the supports. You'll find more on our website. I wish everybody all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Aidan, and that's wonderful. So I'll just wrap up and conclude at this stage. So I think in summary, there was 4 key words and a lot of discussion this evening around startups and entrepreneurship, but it's really all about the needs, the supports, the opportunity and the courage. And the first thing is need. And in Ireland, and in particular in Donegal, startups is critical for us to grow our local economy, to create jobs and to sustain our communities. So we are passionate about creating a pipeline of more value and volume of startups. Small businesses, you know, is the cornerstone of the economy. 70% of people in Ireland employed in small businesses, and 95% of Irish businesses are small businesses. So it is imperative that we continue to create a pipeline of volume-wise and high-quality startups going forward. And building a high-quality Indigenous business base in Donegal will help create employment and sustain our communities. The second is supports, and Conall mentioned it and Aidan mentioned it. Ireland's probably one of the best countries in the world to start a business. The range of supports for anybody that has an idea, that has capacity and has the ambition and the passion to grow a business, then the agencies that's available in Ireland are second to none. So there's no lack of supports available. The third thing I would say is opportunity. And again, even in a pandemic, and actually even more so in a pandemic, the opportunity to start a business is significant. And there is no better time, and we're seeing that, as Aidan alluded to, the numbers in Enterprise Ireland, we're seeing that in Donegal with a tenfold increase in the demand for our supports, and we have the number of people attending our grant aid and applying to us has doubled, and so there is a significant uplift in demand now of people that want to get into this space. So there is opportunity in all sectors and niches in the area. The final point I would say is courage, and I think that was typified by our three panellists, because many will allude to the other factors in startup, things around finding the solution to a problem that you can get people to pay for, having the right skills, whether you have the resources, the hard work and the endeavour, and luck. And no doubt, as Jefferson said, the harder we work, the luckier we get, but I think courage differentiates the entrepreneur from the aspiring entrepreneur. And aspiring entrepreneurs like myself, it lacks the courage perhaps, and that's the difference. And Cathal alluded, just take the jump. So you can't be successful if you're not in the game. And there's a quote in the brochure that Grace used for Enterprise Week, which is Walt Disney. The way to get started is to quit talking and start doing. So you need to have the courage as a startup to jump in and take the plunge. And in keeping with the theme of Enterprise Week this year, it's all about being willing to step forward, putting yourself out there. So I'd like to take this opportunity now to thank our contributors this evening. Our MC, Conall O'Moran, thank you, Conall. It's just brilliant, engaging event. It was so interesting, sitting on the sidelines, listening on, easy flowing and engaging. Few technical issues, but took the Donegal man to step in now, so you had a good substitute in the bench, Conall, so thanks again. So our panel of entrepreneurs, Jermid for stepping in the breach of Niall, thank you, and certainly his style of engagement was really interesting and engaging. And I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Niall and his family on the new arrival. I was just thinking that hopefully the experience of the sleepless nights with the startups aren't called upon too often with the new arrival, but best wishes to you and thanks again, Jermid. To Conall for his inspiring stories and valuable insight. I was just thinking during it, he could be the front man for Coldplay. He has a significant likeness and voice of Gary Lightbody, so there is a backup plan, but I don't think he'll need it. And then finally to our own Cathal Sheridan, who is really inspiring. And as he said, when Cathal came to us, we knew there was great potential in his ability and his design and his creativity. And we're delighted that he's gone on to create 4 jobs with plans for much more in Creeshla. And Cathal kindly is our national client supporter for Local Enterprise Week. He was featured on Drive Time yesterday on RTE, so thanks for that. So I'm sure you'll agree that personal stories and the courage and the opportunity and the fun and the endeavour that they spoke about brought real value to this evening's session. And finally, thanks to Aidan McKenna, Regional Director of Enterprise Ireland, for joining us to outline the supports. Enterprise Ireland is a great supporter, and particularly Aidan, of Leo in Donegal and all the enterprise development in the county. So I wish to acknowledge that, Aidan, and thank you for your support and commitment. And we look forward when you can get back in person, and we can all get back in person actually in the county and move forward. And as a token of our appreciation this week, I'll show it to the camera, we have Laura Buchanan has done a beautiful Donegal bucket list. So this will be winging its way in the post. So when you get an opportunity, when the restrictions lift and there's an opportunity to come back to the county, you will be able to have a cuppa maybe in Slieve League, or perhaps watch a sunset on Fannet Lighthouse. So there's a range of things to do. So a beautiful hanging for the wall, and it can bring memories of Donegal to you in your kitchen. And finally, thank you to every one of you for joining us this evening. We are delighted with the numbers. This is our penultimate event from the Leo Donegal. So I just would like to draw your attention to a wonderful event which is continuing on the theme of this evening tomorrow morning, and it is Collaborate to Compete. And the brilliant Dr. Carol Thomas and Dr. Alan Armstrong has an interactive and inspiring workshop to encourage innovation on how you can identify opportunities and generate ideas. So all themes that we spoke about this evening, so there's time to book. It's on tomorrow morning from 10 until 1. So please do go onto our website, localenterprise.ie/Donegal, and you will get the details there. Our enterprise partners were amazing this year and put on wonderful events, and there's still time to catch 3 more of those events. There is a wellbeing session on at 9:30 from our partners, and also then Inishow and Innovation have an afternoon event on businesses of the future and what they might look like with Mary McKenna. Visor Lab and LYIT have a session on adopting innovation and how you can access the technology gateways for innovation plans. And finally, on Monday, as part of National Women's Enterprise Day, International Women's Day, the Donegal Women in Business Network have an event on women embracing global change. So all booking links for our own event in the morning, Cooperate to Collaborate, and all of those other events is available on localenterprise.ie/Donegal. So without further ado, I think that is a wrap. So thanks again for joining us this evening, and I look forward to seeing the tsunami of startups that Conall and his guests are going to send our way. And certainly it will encourage everybody listening in. Whilst the challenges are there, the opportunities are great, and we are calling out for more and more of these type of startups. So go ro míle mai agah agus slán go fáil as dúna ná. Good night.